When is local produce not really local produce? Well, maybe when it's sold in Iowa and grown in China. We're going to talk about that today on the Fallon Forum.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Ed Fallon here, folks. Gateway Market and Cafe is your locally owned source for specialty groceries. Enjoy chef-crafted, prepared foods, artisan baked goods, organic produce, specialty cheeses, and hand-selected wines and craft beer. Visit the lively cafe for breakfast, lunch, or dinner 7 days a week. Gateway Market is centrally located on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway and Woodland Ave. Stop by or visit www.gatewaymarket.com for more details. That's Gateway Market, folks. Good food, great community.
Times are tough, and most people are just trying to make their cars last a little bit longer. That's why you should know about Sargent's Garage in Des Moines. You can trust Sargent's to make the right diagnosis and give you a fair price. Whether it's a routine oil change or a major repair, Sargent's always does outstanding work. So don't give up on that old car just yet. Call Sargent's Garage at 246-8149. That's 246-8149 for Sargent's Garage.
This moment of silence brought to you by Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering, home of Des Moines' premier rooftop dining experience. Located in the heart of Beaverdale, Tally's offers speedy and affordable rooftop lunch, catering for events both large and small, innovative cuisine, as well as vegetarian and gluten-free menus. Come to Tally's for live music, dry-aged steaks, Sunday brunch, and all-you-can-eat ribs every Monday night. Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering at 2712 Beaver Avenue. Call 279-2067. That's 279-2067.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Broadcasting live here from the Webcast One studio in the Skywalk in downtown Des Moines. Well, I've seemed to have stirred up a little bit of a hornet's nest here, but I like hornets. They're just warm and fuzzy. I've always been a huge supporter of local businesses. I feel that chain businesses across the board are detrimental to our local economy. I would much rather have my neighbor owning his or her own business than working as a clerk at Walmart or Target or, for that matter, Whole Foods. I'd much rather see that money stay in our community. There's a big economic justification for, I think, the argument that it makes sense to support local businesses. So it should be no surprise to anybody that the handful of businesses that are help to sponsor this program are local, because that's who I recruit. I mean, if Walmart or if any chain, for that matter, any chain were to come to me and say, hey, we want to sponsor your program, I'd say, sorry, not going to happen. And, you know, there's a little bit of a gray area there. For example, you've got, you know, a business that might own, somebody who might own more than one business in a local community. I'm fine with that. The person is local. The money stays in the community. Now, there are certainly local businesses that don't do well by their employees. Okay, that's a different story. We should take that into consideration as well. But again, I support businesses. I shop at businesses that are local. I even get my gas, as infrequently as I fill my car. I get my gas from one of the decreasingly smaller and smaller number of local gas stations in the Des Moines Metro. There's not many left out there. But when it comes to natural foods, health foods, organic foods, local produce, local dairy products, I tend to get mine. Over the years, I've shopped at a New City Market or Campbell's or Gateway. I live in the Sherman Hill neighborhood, and I like the selection at Gateway. So yeah, no surprise that I shop there. And again, they help support this program. So another reason I like them. So again, full disclosure of that. But for a long time, I remember back when oh gosh, it had to be the late 1990s. My entire family decided we were going to only shop local between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Actually, I think it was Thanksgiving through even after Christmas. And it was a bit of a challenge. I mean, we had to get everything, you know, all the kitchen supplies, not just gas for the car, but things that you have a hard time finding at local businesses because the chains have been so effective at using public subsidies, at using taxpayer money, at using slave labor in other countries, at just in some cases even using the economies of scale. But they inevitably have had the effect of putting small businesses out of business, and we see that in books. We see it in a lot of different categories. We certainly see it in the natural foods industry. So I've got a long history on this. There was a time years ago when I did not get it, and I got plenty of friends who and we can have respectful disagreements about this, but in my opinion, who don't get it, who don't see the issue as prevalent as importantly as I do. I think though it's just think about the bottom line here. You spend $1 at Gateway Market is going to stay. I mean, the folks who own the place, the folks who work there, they're going to spend that somewhere else in your community. You spend it at a Whole Foods or a Trader Joe's or some other big chain, Walmart even. That money is gone. It's going out of state. I mean, yeah, there'll be some recirculation in the local economy because you've got the employees who work there who will then spend that dollar locally. But a big chunk of it out of state right away, and that's not healthy for our community. Okay, so there's plenty to talk about here, and I'm getting plenty of pushback on this, and I'm having some. This is kind of entertaining, actually. A local anarchist, who actually local, she just moved here from another big city on the West Coast, I think, challenges me to walk into the West Des Moines Whole Foods and actually hear and see what they are about. Okay, and I admit I have not been there, and I have had invitations to go there, and I need to do that. It's just way out of my usual biking route. But I don't have to walk in there and see. I don't have to go there to understand what's going on. There's plenty of information out there about what's happening and why I should be concerned. I just gave you the bottom line reason: keep the dollar local. I do want to talk about the whole issue of local produce from China, but just to answer some of the commentary that's coming through. And again, anybody who's writing to me on Facebook or email or wants to dialogue about this voice to voice, I will be fair. I'll give you time. Call me at 244-0077, 244-0077. Elizabeth writes, you seriously need to just go into Whole Foods. Again, no problem going there. I've been into Walmart several times. That has not turned me into a Walmart shopper, and it has not diminished my Walmart critique. In fact, it would probably... If I went to Whole Foods, I would probably come out with a stronger critique. She says, you spout off so much misinformation. For example, tell me what the misinformation is. Get the real scoop from the horse's mouth. So I get that by going to the store and suddenly I'm enlightened? I don't understand your logic at all. Instead of turning to these people, I'm not sure, for what? Oh, 20 listeners. Actually, we've got about 1,300 listeners and viewers per show. So, yeah. Just we'll send you the numbers if you like. Actually, do the right thing and go in and learn that it's, quote, persistent pesticides that Whole Foods doesn't allow. Okay. How do you, this is to the real point about produce from China. How do you know what's on Chinese produce? Okay. We have a pretty strong regulatory system here. We have fought a lot of battles over the year. Going back to Rachel Carson and Silent Spring and the banning of DDT. Well, the DDT didn't fall out of existence. It got sold elsewhere. And I don't know. I don't know exactly what farms in China are using, and I hope they're making progress on this issue. But the bottom line is we don't have the capacity to inspect the produce that comes in from China. Okay, so Whole Foods or any business for that matter can say it wants to avoid, quote, persistent pesticides, and I've not heard that term. But to do that is going to be really, really tough if you're bringing your food from the other side of the world through an inspections process that does not provide for true understanding of what is involved in what is being applied to that food product. Oh, then this gets even better. Elizabeth continues to write, you are kind of a joke if people sit down and do their homework. I'm a joke. So do your homework and tell me I'm a joke. But no, they will hang on your ill-informed word and not do the work required to make a real informed decision. Lame. Like Elizabeth, you just told us a lot of really, that's, you can name call and dismiss what I'm saying, dismiss what others are saying about this. I mean, gosh, I'm hardly the only critic of Whole Foods. I'm hardly the only critic of importing produce from China. But you didn't cite one fact or piece of information that I can hang my hat on. I challenge her to call today. Nah, you're not worth my breath. Apparently I'm worth writing to, but not talking to. Okay. Instead, you do what makes you get ratings. No, actually, ratings aren't that important to me. Speaking the truth is important. I do want to have an impact on policy and on things that are important. And again, I think one thing that's very important, has been to me for a long time, is supporting local businesses and local farmers. So yeah, she says call the store. You know, maybe, Maddie, maybe we will call the store during the break and get their take. Finally, a good suggestion. Thank you. You can't deal with the real facts. You deal in half-truths. Ha, ha, ha. I think 7 ha-has. You should really take that 5 minutes to apologize to the people you mislead. Elizabeth, I'm sorry I've misled you into thinking that you're worth reading even. I mean, gosh, give me a break. Okay, sorry, folks. I don't mind informed opinions, but there was really nothing there that I found enlightening. Okay, so let me go to this article from Natural News. This is from July of 2012. And the article writes, the article states, most everyone who buys organic foods knows the benefits. While it can tend to be a little more expensive, yep, that's often the case, it is at least pesticide-free and much more wholesome. But did you know, continues the article, that an increasing amount of our organic food may be coming from China, which immediately throws into question the organic labeling. We've had a hard enough battle in this country coming up with an acceptable definition of organic. And there has been some pushback from corporate agriculture, from the established industrial agriculture, on what is allowed to be called organic. And that battle raged years ago. It continues. But yeah, I mean, when you start, again, we can do our best right here. But when you start bringing stuff from elsewhere, I don't know how you can even use. Yeah, it throws into question the term organic. The article continues, that could include some of your favorites from Austin, Texas-based Whole Foods, which brands itself as the nation's organic foods leader. Now, an ABC affiliate in Washington, D.C., WJLA, reported earlier this year that the leading food retailer selling the image that local and organic is better for the environment and better for you is Whole Foods, but that may not be the product consumers are getting. Okay, so at more than 175 Whole Foods stores nationwide, the Whole Foods promotes a homegrown concept that many of the supermarket chains' goods are marked. But what's not being said is that many of the supermarket chains' goods are marked product of China. Okay, so gosh, where to go with this? So what's wrong with that? Okay, that's a question that I've asked, that others have asked. So for one thing, again, importing food from China is again contrary to what Whole Foods says about locally grown and organic. For another, China's agricultural development regulations are nowhere near as stringent as they are in the U.S. And finally, despite Whole Foods' assurances to the contrary, how is a consumer, how is the company for that matter, able to know whether all of its Chinese-grown products are indeed pesticide-free? Again, we don't know. Interesting side note on that: there was a special mix of vegetables that Whole Foods offered. I've not seen this again, but I've heard about it, called California Blend. Sounds very warm and fuzzy. It was broccoli, carrots, and cauliflower, and it was actually all imported from China. Now, since that report came out by WJLA, Whole Foods has begun to use vegetables grown in the U.S. for its California Blend. Anyway, interesting. Let's again go to our phone lines, 244-0077. You know, if you don't like my opinion, disagree with me respectfully, and let's have a conversation about it. But I think that it makes a lot of sense to support local farms and to insist that businesses that are selling local produce mean that. Market carefully if it's not. And I know there are some, all the local stores, Gateway, Campbell's, New City. Yeah, they sell produce that's not necessarily local as well because we can't grow it all year round here. But yeah, anyway, let's go to Lisa from Des Moines. Hello, Lisa. Welcome to the show.
Oh, hi. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. I was just calling. I've been listening to what you say, and I'm a big proponent of local and controlling what I eat and my dollars. And I just wanted to mention the Iowa Food Co-op, which is another option.
Yes.
In contrast to Whole Foods, the Iowa Food Co-op is 100% local,
Yes.
versus Whole Foods goes for 20%. 90% of what we take in goes right back to the producers, and you can read exactly how the producers produce the food online on our website.
Yes, and I'm familiar
so it's a great
with
option.
You know, the Iowa Food Co-op, I believe, orders twice a month. Am I correct?
Yes, twice
Okay.
a month. Mhm.
And the pickup is still in Merle Mall.
Merle Mall, and we also have added a pickup in Ames, a pickup in Indianola, not Indianola, sorry, Ankeny. So Ames, Ankeny, and
Okay.
West Des Moines.
How many members do you have?
Well, we have 500 members. Our average order cycle is about more like 120.
So about 120,
130.
130 order each time.
And we'd love to grow that because
Okay.
we really want to promote our local producers. And by having a very little overhead and all online shopping, we can keep the dollars that go back to the producers as high as possible.
And so it's online shopping, but all the produce, the dairy, the meat, whatever else you're selling comes from local farms. 100%.
Yes.
That's pretty
Yes.
good. How many local farms participate in the food co-op?
Oh, I think we have 80 to 90 producers. I'm not exactly sure, but if you go on the website, you can see them all. And we have meats, cheeses, produce, bread, flour, soap, candles, honey, all kinds of stuff.
Soap and candles, cool. So why is there any effort to try to get a location in downtown Des Moines?
Downtown Des Moines, we're always looking to expand. We just have to get the interest and the energy, and it's a co-op, so it's member owned. So
Right.
members, it's all about the energy.
Yeah, well, I would certainly be interested in seeing that effort expand. That's good. Yeah, well, thank you for the call. And do you have any comments about the specific concern raised about Whole Foods' reliance on produce from China?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been listening to your show. I mean, you have no idea what's happening in China, so I prefer to buy stuff that's around here when I can read what happens. And, Whole Foods is, I mean, it's a nice store, but I think consumers need to realize it is what it is, and it isn't like this great organic mega market. That's how I feel about it anyway.
Yeah.
If you want to buy local, you need to search out the local.
Yeah. Lisa, thank you so much for the phone call.
Thank you.
Jim writes, China would have to be a concern even if farmers adhered strictly to USDA standards because, seriously, even the rainwater in China is unclean. And again, I don't think this guy, and I'm certainly not China bashing. I have a lot of friends from China. I admire some of the things that China has accomplished. I appreciate the fact that they're ahead of us. They're on the leading curve now of things like about wind generation and high speed rail. We could learn a lot from China on high speed rail. But anyway, Jim writes, China would have to be a concern even if farmers adhered strictly to USDA standards because, seriously, even the rainwater in China is unclean, as well as the air. The toxic pollution settles, embeds, and sticks in cracks and crevices it can't be dislodged from. Would you eat certified organic produce grown a quarter mile downwind from the cement plant? Again, I'd like to see more information on the data there, but I do know that China is cranking out cement plants, coal plants. For a while, it was putting out, I think, one new coal plant every week or two. It's phenomenal how quickly that country has industrialized, and in some cases, I know one situation where they bought an old coal plant, essentially, all the old equipment from a European country that was no longer allowing these type of factories to be used because they were too polluting, and it was reestablishing that, reconstructing that in China, and you can't. I mean, the stuff coming out of that has got to be pretty awful. And would I want to grow produce grown a quarter mile downwind from a cement plant or a coal-fired power plant that's designed in the old style. No, not really. So anyway, another piece to consider. Folks, I got to run to a break. If you'd like to join us, 244-0077, 244-0077. We'll be back in a few minutes. Later in the program, Kramer McLucky will join me. He's with Iowa Public Interest Research Group, and we'll be discussing the new report out by IPERG, Big Money and Dark Money in the 2012 election.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hey folks, it's Ed Fallon. I want to tell you about saving energy and saving money. Tim Reynolds with Reynolds Energy Solutions will give you a comprehensive energy audit that will cost you nothing. And Tim will identify the many ways in which you can reduce energy use while saving money. Now, I had Tim over for an audit last month, and I was amazed, I tell you, at how much energy was going through the roof, out the windows, the back door. You get it. So before the cold winds of winter really blow hard, give Tim a call at 802-2801. That's 802-2801.
Host is a locally owned restaurant in downtown Des Moines that focuses its food and philosophy on embracing simplicity. The majority of Host's food is from local farmers who practice sustainable and health-conscious agriculture. Much of what you'll find on your plate is a familiar comfort food, presented with a modern and tasty interpretation. Host is open for lunch Monday through Friday from 11 to 2, and also available for private dinner events and special themed dinners throughout the month. So, check out Host at 13th and Locust in Des Moines.
With warm weather finally here, it's time to think about upgrading the efficiency of your furnace and air conditioner. Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling has provided honest, competent service for over 20 years. Whether it's your home or business, for repair work or to install a more energy-efficient furnace or air conditioner, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422. That's 263-0422. For honest, competent heating and cooling service, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422.
Wow, some wedding.
Yeah, I've never seen a bride in coveralls.
Right, and skipping down the aisle to accordion music.
Not to mention the reception. That wedding cake was a freaking fruit cake.
It's your wedding. Don't leave anything to chance. Diana's Wedding Cakes. Using only the finest, freshest ingredients with free on-time delivery and setup. Choose one of Diana's custom designs or create your own. Call Diana's Wedding Cakes, 641-275-9279. That's 641-275-9279.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker-owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Talk a little further, folks, about local food from China. I want to thank Physicians for Social Responsibility for supporting this program. I want to thank the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club as well. I want to thank Gateway Market. I want to thank Reynolds Energy Solutions, Proof Restaurant, Tallies, all the wonderful local businesses that help make the alternative to right-wing radio possible. I think it's entertaining, too, that folks who claim to be on the political left can rip me a new one, read me the Riot Act, and and somehow think that they're going to get a fair shake from Rush Limbaugh, from Jan Michelson, Simon Conway. Come on, those folks are just the believe in the opposite of what local is all about. I've even heard Rush Limbaugh rail against the fruit and vegetable lobby. Like this powerful force in Washington D.C. that's crafting policy that will force kids to eat fruits and vegetables at their school lunch instead of healthy food like hamburgers and hot dogs. Anyway, I did learn that the Elizabeth who had written me about what a bad person I am and how wrong I am about Whole Foods actually works at Whole Foods. Shock and amazement. Anyway, yeah. So I have other friends who work at Whole Foods. I have civil conversations about this with them. You don't need to be ridiculous. You don't need to attack. I'm trying to speak factually. I'm trying to speak from information that's out there. If I misstate something, it's not intentional. It's accidental, because sometimes there is misinformation out there that can present itself as factual. But by whatever standards you can measure, I think the evidence is pretty strong that again, calling your produce local and bringing a bunch of it in from China is very, very questionable. Again, I like the fact that Lisa with the Iowa Food Co-op called. I think that's a great opportunity to pool resources and support local farms. I like what Gateway and Campbell's and New City do in the local community. Again, they can't get it all from local farmers all year round, but they do a pretty good job. I know at Gateway they do get a lot of their milk products, ice cream as well. Ice cream, butter, milk come from Picket Fence Dairy out in Dallas County. Can't beat that. I'd much rather get that from a local source than from anywhere far away. Okay, so another article I want to reference here, this one from Rodale Magazine, and for some reason it doesn't seem to have a date on it, so I'm not quite sure. I have a feeling it might be from last year. Rodale's article says, "Can you trust organic food from China?" It's a question that's plagued organic consumers for years, as demand has outpaced the ability for U.S. farmers to supply Americans with organic food. Stop right there. If that's the case, and again, it very well may be. Rodale is a very respected publication, a very respectable organization, has been around for a long time. If it is true that demand for organic food has outpaced what American farmers can supply, we have to ask ourselves why. What is preventing? I mean, in a free market, that's often what happens. You see the supply grow to meet the demand. Well, I mean, part of the problem is it's really, really tough to get into farming, especially if you are not, if you don't have deep pockets, if you don't have land in your family, and if you don't have the benefit of public subsidies. Again, corn, beans, hogs, cattle, commodity crops in general, cotton, whatnot. There's a lot of subsidies involved in production of those products. You don't get that when you're growing beets or when you're growing, raisins. Hold on a quick second here, folks. Sorry, had to close the door. Hey, so my concern is that, the demand would rise to meet the supply. Sorry, the supply would rise to meet the demand if we had a system that was more fair and where people could do a better job at getting into the business. Again, I think here in Iowa it seems to be happening. I still know that there is that lack, there is that deficit, but I see more and more people getting into local production and producing food for local markets. Okay, the article continues. Between food safety problems in China and the ability of U.S. regulators to reliably inspect imported food, and then it notes that just 2% of all imported food is inspected. Okay, let that sink in. Elizabeth, I'm sure you're not still listening. You're probably back to work. But but if 2% of all imported food is inspected, 2%. Okay, so how can you possibly have any assurance that that the other 98% is not containing something that you don't want in your food? So few people trust the, quote, product of China label when it appears on their food. Whole Foods even stopped stocking Chinese organic produce in most of its 365 store brands in 2010. Now that strikes me as inconsistent with what I've heard more recently. And maybe they did stop for a while. But according to a much more recent article from July of this year, there's still a whole lot of stuff being sold in Whole Foods that does come from China, that's marked product of China. Okay, Rodale continues. After a year of yet more problems with Chinese organic products, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has decided to step up its visits to the third-party certifying agents that certify Chinese goods as organic. Good. According to the Seattle Times in a report that was released, and again, this had to be probably a year or two ago, rather than certify all organic products itself, the agency outsources the task to 91 certifying agents that operate in the U.S. and abroad. And those agents get audited regularly to ensure they're following the rules. Okay, first of all, that should not even be necessary. If you're buying your produce from local sources, you're not going to have to create this vast government bureaucracy to outsourcing. It's privatizing the inspections process. That has plenty of concerns itself. But you shouldn't even, again, if this was local sources, it wouldn't be a problem. It wouldn't be an issue. And again, what people fail to forget is that in itself becomes a government subsidy to industrial organic agriculture, to importing food from other countries. So that, and again, it becomes a subsidy to Whole Foods, for example, or Trader Joe's, or anybody who is bringing in food from other places, because, we're paying for the inspection. We're paying for those agents, for the government agency that oversees their work, that audits them once in a while. We're paying for that. And if you're buying from local farmers, you're not getting the benefit of that subsidy. You're only getting that benefit if you are buying your food from elsewhere. And again, just to make an analogy, for those who are familiar with the hog confinement issue, there are plenty of ways in which we taxpayers subsidize corporate agriculture, corporate hog producers at the expense of small operators and folks trying to raise their hogs sustainably, and pastured pork, for example, or in hoop houses. One is that there is a property tax exemption that you get for manure storage systems. Again, if you're raising hogs sustainably, organically, you don't get that. You don't have that opportunity you don't get that tax benefit. It also hits the local county's budget, so they have to recoup. They have to find another way to get money into their till if the confinement operators are getting that benefit and drawing down on the county budget. So there are so many insidious ways in which the tax code is used to benefit, the tax code or subsidies or government agencies themselves are used to benefit the big operators. All right, so let me continue reading this here. I find this. I wish I could find the date on this. It has to be probably 2011. The article from Rodale again says the agency, the USDA, that is, in 2010, September of 2020, they banned one organic certifier. That one was called the Organic Crop Improvement Association. They banned them from operating in China after discovering that the certifier was allowing government officials, rather than the certifier's third-party agents, to inspect government farms selling USDA organic certified products. Okay, so yeah, sure, that contracted auditor ought to be banned, but how many more are we missing? I mean, talk about it. There had to be some cash flowing under the table between the government official and the farmer and the auditor here. It's just it's unconscionable. So I guess I wonder how many more are like that. So, there aren't many reliable numbers on the amount of organic foods imported from China. Again, this is part of the problem as well. But the total of all organic exports from China, whether it's been shipped to the U.S. or Europe, rose to 500 million in 2008, up from 300,000 in 1995. I imagine it has only continued to increase. And again, I think that concerns me. So let me go back to, again, there's plenty of, I'm getting a lot more responses on this than I'm going to have time to process and read. But okay, Brenda writes, that would explain. I talk about the again the food coming from China. Okay, sorry. Here we go. I'm on the wrong thread. Easy to do. Where to go? So many to choose from. All right, I'll come back to those because we got a call. Let's go to Chris from Cooper, Iowa. Hello, Chris. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Ed.
Hey, sorry to keep you waiting there. How are you?
No problem. I was looking at this article that you sent me with a date, July 25th of 2012. So
Yeah.
it's not as far back as you thought.
No, that one's pretty recent. The other one, I don't really know the date of. The Rodale piece, I couldn't find a date on it for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, fairly recent. It does seem like they're still, bringing in produce from China.
Right.
Yeah. Any further thoughts on that? Or
Well, a couple of things about the Chinese food when we can grow our own food here, and lots of us do. And whether we are chemically free or certified organic, we're selling what we call Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food.
Oh, yes, I've heard of that.
And if you know and trust the guy who's growing, guy or gal who's growing your food, you've got it all made. And no pesky inspector has to stand beside you when you're watching it come out of the field or helping in
Right.
a CSA operation or whatever.
Right. Now, that's also, doesn't the USDA support that program?
Yes, they sure do.
Okay.
They support it, the farmers market, even Iowa Department of Ag and Land Stewardship supports farmers markets. You can use the SNAP cards or the WIC cards to buy fresh vegetables. Our farmers market in a very small town, 4,300 people, 10,000 total in the county, has 27 vendors, and
really,
yeah, and we had everything from kale and cabbage early on, and broccoli, all the way through the season. I've still got potatoes left from my own garden, all chemically free.
And which town is that?
The market is actually in Jefferson. It
Okay.
ran from June through September.
And are the 27 vendors are mostly from Greene County, from the local area?
Greene County and the surrounding counties, Guthrie and Boone and even Webster and Dallas. So, yeah, and a couple from over at Carroll. So, and a lot of the vendors go to the Perry Market, to the Fort Dodge Market. And then there's always Julie Wilbur and the Boone Market.
So what about the concern that that there's not enough supply to meet the demand? Is that your experience in Jefferson?
Well, it depends on what particular commodity is in the particular week. And like the green beans this year, we're in short supply. And so Bill Fredericks, who brought green beans from his garden south of me, sold out within the first half an hour. It didn't matter whether he brought 30 pounds or 50 pounds or 100 pounds, they were gone, just because they were the only ones. So you have to be a little quick. You want to be a little,
Yeah, you got to be on your toes.
you got to be on your toes. You got to know what you want.
So,
you gotta
what's
know where to get 'em.
what's keeping more people from getting into local production? Because again, my theory is that in a free market system, if you've got a demand, the supply will rise to meet that demand.
Well, and there are a lot of young people who are getting into production. I know there's a large CSA and farmers market group over at Nevada that they're only on their second year. And while our farmers market has been running close to 12 years, it has grown each year with more and more vendors. It's a lot of work.
I know it is. Yeah.
To put vegetables in,
Sure.
take care of them, and get them to market. It's quite a commitment, and it isn't.
You don't get a summer vacation. You get a winter vacation.
You get a winter vacation, and you better be planning on putting your garlic and your cold weather crops in at the end of that before you think about vacation. So
Yeah.
As far as imports, China in particular is not known for its organic, for any standards, for one thing.
Well, yeah, lead in toys. I mean, to what extent are you going to have confidence in a country that has been shameless about, putting, selling toys that are contaminated with lead?
Rice, and some of those things. My sister spent 8 years there, and they prayed over their food that they could actually eat it and still end up healthy. When we were doing business with the Japanese about edible beans, they were buying edible beans from Iowa instead of China, even though it cost them more, because at least they could trust that they were grown the way we said they were, without chemicals and without specific chemicals. I mean, DDT is still on the list of acceptable chemicals in China.
Yeah, and that's been off the market here for what,
since the early
50 years?
60s. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, compliments of Rachel Carson and a pretty strong grassroots movement. But it still finds its way back into our stomachs and gullets. Compliments of an approach to trade that brings produce, cheaply grown produce in China to the U.S. Makes no sense to me.
No, it doesn't.
Hey, Chris, thank you for the phone call. I've got to run to a break. Appreciate it. Keep up the good work. Thanks for taking the time to talk with us.
All right.
And when we come back, folks, we're going to talk with Kramer McLucky with Iowa Public Interest Research Group about money in politics, about a new report released by PIRG called Big Money and Dark Money in the 2012 Election.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day 1 of WebcastOneLive.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait.
Howdy.
And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live. Someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together. And we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com.
I can't tell you that it's going real well from time to time, but it is going, man.
Hi, folks. It's Ed Fallon here. Proof Restaurant at 13th and Locust. You've probably been there for their award-winning, nationally recognized lunch specials. Well, now Proof is open Thursdays and Fridays for supper. And here's where the chefs really get creative. Let me tell you, they're like artists, okay? I've been there, and it is one of the best meals I have had in Des Moines. I've heard that from other people. You got to check it out. Proof for supper, Thursdays and Fridays, and also the second Saturday of the month. Do not assume you can get in. Make reservations. Contact Proof Restaurant online at proofrestaurant.com or 244-0655. That's 244-0655. Hi, folks. Ed Fallon here. When it is time to entertain, think of Gateway Market. Let them handle the details. Gateway offers a wide variety of stress-free options like cut-to-order cheese and charcuterie. There's a delicious olive bar and a wide variety of chef-prepared dips and spreads. Or let the catering team take care of the entire event, right down to the wine and beer pairings. The expert floral designers can even customize the perfect centerpieces. So stop by or visit Gateway Market for more information. Gateway is at Woodland Fallon and ML King in downtown Des Moines. Good food, great entertaining.
Nestled in the heart of downtown, Ritual Cafe is one of Des Moines' most unique places, offering a wide variety of coffee and tea. Ritual Cafe also serves the only all-vegetarian menu in town. And Ritual Cafe is a cultural hub for artists and musicians, with a performance stage hosting local, national, and international talent. Make Ritual Cafe a part of your daily ritual. On 13th Street between Locust and Grand in downtown Des Moines. And check out ritualcafe.com.
I love driving to Newton to see the races.
Me too, but I only have to drive across town.
You live in Newton?
Yep, Newton's got small town charm and it's close to Des Moines. I love the safe, friendly neighborhoods and family-owned businesses. And Newton's wind energy industry is really taking off.
How'd you find your home?
Dan Kelly with First Choice Realty. And Dan helped me find my office too.
Next time, instead of just speeding by, I'll stop in and check out Newton.
Why don't you check out Newton? Call Dan Kelly at 641-521-9260 or Dan Kelly at mchsi.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back, folks. Hey, Kramer McLucky is going to join us in just a minute here, but I do want to wrap up the Whole Foods China produce local organic conversation with one more call from Kim from Madrid, I think. Kim, welcome to the show.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. What's on your mind?
Well, I guess I have a real problem with our government certifying things organic from overseas that we don't even know what standards they meet. You know, and people over here are working to adhere to certain standards, and they're being inspected. You know, and either self-certifying or having to meet certain criteria, and then we bring stuff in from someplace else that not only meets no criteria, but historically we've had cadmium and lead in various toys and gifts that McDonald's was giving away, and some of the other companies, kids' jewelry, you know, and those people, children, are going to be the most at risk for cadmium and lead poisoning because of their age and metabolism. Then we've got, you know, dog treats that have come in and dog food that's come in from overseas and poisoned and killed hundreds of thousands of dogs and cats.
No, really? Wait, I didn't know that. Hundreds of thousands of dogs and cats killed because of contaminated
maybe
dog?
Not hundreds of thousands, but I know there have been a number of dogs and cats, and a few years ago it was melamine, which is used to increase the protein by analysis, but it's not digestible, and in fact it's toxic. And that was put into dog and cat food, and a number of dogs and cats got sick. And then, you know, we've been hearing about chicken jerky treats from China, and
that sounds like another show. I think I want to learn more about that and get the message out about that. I always strive for factual information, and I'm amazed at how much is out there that most of us don't know anything about. That's something that's new to me, but I'd like to hear more about that. Yeah, I think
with the internet we could all know everything about everything, but
well, yeah. Thank Al Gore for that. But you know, regarding the problem with food, you know, like you said, it's so much easier to import food from China than it ever used to be. It's also so much easier for Walmart to set up, you know, sweatshops in China, Southeast Asia, Latin America, other countries, because of you know, a lot of it has to do with NAFTA and other free trade agreements that really aren't. Free trade is a misnomer. These are trade agreements that have made it easy for big corporations and big agriculture as well to set up shop in other countries with horrible standards for worker protection, for environmental protection, for the food product itself, and then sell the stuff back to us at cheap cost because they haven't paid squat for labor.
And they don't pay import duties, and you would think even with the price of fuel, I mean, it kind of stretches your imagination to think they can ship this stuff overseas, have somebody work on it and do something to it and ship it back cheaper than we can have our own people in this country do it. You know, and the CEOs for all of these companies are making multi-million-dollar payrolls and bonuses.
Yeah.
You know,
It's good information. Thanks for calling. Could you do me a favor and send me some information about the pet poisonings from imported pet food?
Okay, will do.
All right. Thank you so much for the call.
Thanks.
Folks, we're going to switch gears here today and talk about money and politics. Well, it's hardly ever really a gear shift because everything boils down to money and politics, it seems. I'm really happy to have Kramer McLucky back. I'm really lucky to have Kramer McLucky back in the studio with me. Can I say that?
Absolutely,
It's
you
a
can
little
say
bit
that.
too
You know,
cute.
I like to say I'm a friend of the show, Ed, so you can say whatever you want.
And you're also with Iowa Public Interest Research Group, and nationally, PIRG has put together a report called Big Money and Dark Money in the 2012 election. You guys work fast because that was just a couple weeks ago.
That's right. Yeah, some of our national policy experts have been staying up around the clock to work on these. This is the third in our series of reports on outside spending in the election.
Of course, there's only so much you can know because of the Supreme Court ruling on Citizens United. But what can you tell us?
Absolutely. Well, basically, spending in the post-Citizens United era is totally living up to the hype. Everything that we thought would happen has basically happened. We saw an over 200% increase in outside spending in the 2012 election cycle compared to 2008.
Increase. Now, does that include all sources, not just candidates, but PACs?
Right. Super PACs, 501c4s, 527s, all those groups.
So 200% increase.
That's right. And here in Iowa, actually, it's even more striking because, as we all know, due to reapportionment, we lost a House seat. So we only had 4 congressional races this year, and we saw $12 million in outside group spending on those races. Wow. In 2008, with 5 House races and a U.S. Senate race, we saw about $2 million. So that's a 6-fold increase for 2 fewer races.
Who's spending the money?
It's a lot of different groups. Most of this money is coming from for-profit organizations. I have a stat here. About $71.8 million. That's not in Iowa alone. That's nationally. But that's a huge percentage of the money that super PACs were spending came from for-profit businesses.
Such as?
The U.S. Chamber of Commerce aggregates a huge amount of money from other corporations because they can spend it as this sort of umbrella, kind of anonymous thing.
Money funneling in from corporations through the Chamber of Commerce into various other super PACs. It's just it's like a series of pipelines that you can't really track very well.
That's right. And there's also, due to the gaps in the disclosure laws, some electioneering communications fall outside of this scheduled window for them to count for FEC disclosure. So there's a huge percentage of millions and millions of dollars that they don't even have to disclose to the FEC at all.
Wow.
So we've figured out, based on some numbers in ad spending and what has been disclosed, about what that is, but it's just an approximation.
But your estimates are conservative, I would say, because it's
most likely
a bunch of stuff you can't know.
Exactly. There's, we don't want to overstate our case for the dark money, which is this money that we really have no way of knowing about because of the gaps in disclosure.
So big money refers to the stuff you can document. The $71 million from a handful of corporations.
That's right, and
the dark money is the estimate.
Yep. Yeah, we have no idea what the dark money was. The big money total for the 2008 cycle that has been disclosed to the FEC, and again, that's not even close to the total, was $1.28 billion, which is a pretty striking figure. And we know that about $285 million of that came from just 61 donors, giving an average of $4.7 million each.
Wow. 4.7 million each.
Yeah, that's a little out of my range. I don't know about you, Ed.
I'm about half that maybe. Yeah, no. So the question that's being asked by some is, did these big donors get their money's worth? Was this an investment that paid off for them?
Sure, it's a great question.
Well, I'm guessing most of them went with Romney and maybe.
Yeah, definitely. We have some information on which PACs actually got the largest share of their donations from corporations, and the pro-Romney Restore Our Future PAC got about 20% of its donations in huge corporate bundled donations. And it's a great question as to whether or not they got their money's worth. Obviously, the down ticket races.
The guy didn't win.
Right, he didn't win. But it's a lot easier to buy a down ticket race because there's not as much national media attention on it. There are fewer semi-honest brokers, as the media tries to be, who can actually expose the spending and can give a less biased point of view than the ads. So I think they saw more success in U.S. House races, and even we're starting to see this outside money flow into state Senate and state representative races as well.
Did you see much of that here in Iowa in terms of our House and Senate legislative candidates?
Not too much on the state level. It was mostly focused on the House races because we had so many that were very contentious, like the Vilsack King and the Boswell Latham. Right. Those saw huge amounts of outside spending. They were the lion's share for the state.
So what percentage of the money being spent, big and or dark, is going to Republicans versus Democrats?
We don't have that broken down. Obviously, each PAC supports probably its own point of view. The Workers' PAC, which is a PAC formed by several of the largest labor unions, is another one that spent really hugely on this election. I think it's fair to say that the lion's share of the spending went to the right, but it's certainly a problem that's affecting both parties.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, that's, again, because of the dark side of money, because of the unknown quantities, it's probably hard to nail that very well. But my sense is that the biggest donors went with, in terms of the presidential election, the biggest donors tended to go with Romney over Obama, but not exclusively. Is that an accurate
I would say that's accurate. I mean, we have the famous examples like the Cook brothers or Sheldon and Miriam Adelson, who were obviously out in front of the media, talking about their spending and being more public with it. But there are certainly some on the left who are a little quieter. Jeffrey Katzenberg, the CEO of DreamWorks, gave about $3 million this cycle, which obviously doesn't compare with the $52 million that Sheldon Adelson gave, but it's still not a insignificant chunk of change.
Yeah, I mean, but the bottom line is it really distorts the political process because we are all susceptible to advertising. Mm-hmm. We corporations and political candidates advertise for a reason. It works. I mean, one reason I got my clock clean in my race for Congress, I didn't have an advertising budget. I wasn't able to sustain enough to run an ad campaign. I did when I ran for governor. When I ran for governor, I had a $125,000 ad buy. It made a big difference. I mean, they were estimating my polling at 5-10%. I finished with 26%. It was the ground game, the grassroots door-to-door effort, and talking about the right issues was probably the biggest part of it. But I can't say the ad campaign didn't help. It did. Yeah. So I think the problem is you've got candidates basically spend so much time beating up each other, making the opponent look evil, and demonizing him or her that people know it's not true, but it still gets in your brain. Mm-hmm. It's like residue from the cement plant downwind or upwind rather from the produce being grown in China. You don't see it, but it's going to get on there. Sorry, it was a nice segue back to a previous segment, but the stuff gets into your head. It gets into your head, and they advertise for a reason. Again, people have to be as smart as snakes, I guess, to figure this stuff out. You've got to pay attention. You've got to self-analyze your response to these ads.
Yeah, and these super PACs make it even harder because they all just have really generic names. Restore Our Future, American Crossroads, American Prosperity. They're all just things that generically sound good, and this message funded by Americans for Prosperity. Oh, that sounds good. Okay, I'm for prosperity, but you don't see who's actually funding that message or who they really are. So that makes it even harder for voters to try to educate themselves.
So I really don't know where to go from here. I mean, for a long time I've been a campaign finance reform advocate, and I've seen campaign finance change over the years in response to Supreme Court decisions, in response to changing patterns of financing for candidates. And I know right now, I mean, the best of all options would be a voluntary public financing system that essentially limited the amount of money coming in and thus the amount of money that could be spent, forcing candidates to spend less time schmoozing lobbyists and less time running negative ads and more time interacting directly with voters and potential supporters. But I don't see how we get there. I mean, we had 4 years of Democratic control here in Iowa, and nothing was accomplished on that issue. We had Democratic control in Congress for 2 years. I mean, when I say Democratic control, I mean House, Senate, presidency, or governorship, and nothing done. I don't see either party, even though Republicans are better at bringing in the big corporate cash, Democrats are good enough at it, and especially the Democratic leadership secures its position compliments of its ability to bring in that money. Because of that, I don't see how we're going to get any serious attempt to reform campaign finance with the current two-party system. I really don't. I'm trying to find a way through that, and I don't see it.
Sure.
Can you help me out?
I'll tell you one thing. The Supreme Court has not helped us out at all with the Citizens United decision and then the subsequent decision in the Montana case, I think it's Bullock versus United States.
Summarize that decision for us, if you will.
Sure. So Citizens United essentially took this precedent from a previous court case in 1976 called Buckley versus Vallejo, which had ruled that money is basically free speech. And then basically just took another existing precedent of corporate personhood and said, you know what, we're going to apply this money as speech to corporations and any other entity that wants to do political spending. States can't limit it. The federal government can only limit it in very, very small, specific ways. And so it basically just opened the floodgates even more than they had been before to outside spending. And it emboldened people like the Koch brothers and Sheldon Adelson to do this big corporate spending. So we have to, all we can do really is overturn that decision.
But how are we going to do that? I mean, the Supreme Court's not going to do that.
Right. And the only way you can do it is by dramatically changing the composition of the court, which is not easy. Obviously, that's
that means
a generational shift.
Do you expect President Obama to appoint members? I'm presuming that two or more, I'm guessing two will come up will retire during his second term as president. Do you expect him to be thinking about appointing somebody who would change the court's ruling on Citizens United?
No, I really couldn't speak to that. I know the president has said he has a problem with the Citizens United decision, but we at PIRG are not counting on that at all. That's going to take way too long.
So what are you counting on?
What we're counting on is a groundswell of support, a movement across the country of people who want to pass a constitutional amendment and are going to pass local and state resolutions urging their congressional delegations to pass a constitutional amendment saying that corporations are not people and money is not speech and Citizens United was wrong.
That's the Move to Amend initiative.
That's Move to Amend, and PIRG is working on it.
I'm glad you're involved with that. That's a good
Yep.
initiative.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's our best hope. I mean, again, it seems to me that at some point either the Democratic Party is going to have to go back to its former position of supporting significant campaign finance reform, or one or both parties will have to be replaced by by an entity that is impassioned and committed to that issue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see a way out of it.
Yeah, there are some small steps we can take in the meantime. We can require any publicly traded companies to disclose their political activities to their shareholders. We can pass the Disclose Act, which just requires basically a very, very baseline level of disclosure from all these outside groups as to what they're spending so people can educate themselves and look for collusion where there possibly is some between people buying influence and decision makers.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Kramer McLucky with iPIRG. Folks, tomorrow is the Sweet Equality event. One Iowa sponsoring an event at the Americana restaurant at 13th, between 13th and 14th on Locust. It's a great event, and it's a chance to sample a phenomenal amount of really, really good desserts from local chefs and to support the great progress made on GLBT equality in the past election. You can get your tickets online from One Iowa's website, and I think you can also get your tickets at the door. That's tomorrow night from 5 to 9 at Americana Restaurant. I also want to thank all of our sponsors. I want to remind folks that Bradshaw will be with you at 1:30, and tomorrow we'll have Carl Olson on the program to talk about the another interesting element of the election, the votes on marijuana, medical marijuana and recreational marijuana. We're also going to talk tomorrow about the GMO labeling initiative in California that failed, why it failed, and what we might look to see happen here in Iowa. Thanks for sticking around, folks, for the Fallon Forum.
Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershot.
I am administrative mmanager.
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seemed like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm going to take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.